opened. You've all been welcomed. I don't want to waste much time because whilst the meeting is set for 10 to 1, it looks as though we'll end this meeting at 12. The electricity goes off at 12 where I am, and I know most members are where I am, but we'll see if we can still move beyond 12. But even as we do that, at 12:30, the shuttle leaves the villages. So we'll be forced to end the meeting at 12. At 12:30. So it's 12, but we'll push it beyond 12 to 12:30. So we have to be business-like. Okay. Now, apologies. Can I take apologies, Willem?
Chair, we received one written apology, and that is from the Minister of Defence that you just mentioned. The Minister is unfortunately abroad at the International Security Conference in Germany, and she'll also be attending some defence expos in the area. So they did submit a written apology on our behalf.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Any other apology, colleagues? I know there is Dr. Kamete in the meeting. Let me go back to you, DM. We've not had any news on the developments in the office of SecDef since we last had a meeting in December. Do you want to update us and tell us who is acting in that office?
Honorable Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce to the Oversight Committee the Acting Secretary for Defense, who fortunately is known to the members of the committee, Dr. Kamete. She was appointed following the resignation of our former Secretary for Defense, Ambassador Kujo, in December, early December. And she is at this sitting of the committee today, together with the officials of the department, to take the oversight through the agenda as proposed. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DM. I note that both the CF, the Secretary for Defense and the CEO are no longer in office, or let me say those positions are vacant. We have acting people in those positions. I would request that the filling of these two posts be expedited. They're very critical for the functioning of any department. All right. So
indeed, Chair, and the sentiment will be conveyed to the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DM. All right, let's then quickly move to item number 3.
Chairperson, just on that point, if I might just maybe the acting SecDef or the Deputy Minister can tell us what will now happen. Well, what is the process? Because we need CFO and we need an accounting officer. Is it a process of first advertising and then eventually appointment? And what is the expected time that we foresee that we will wait until full-time appointments are made, so that we can just prepare ourselves mentally and also for them, because they must now study them into some matters relating to the office of those that they occupy now on a temporary basis, because we can't stop business now. if you will allow. Thank you.
Okay. DM.
Honorable Chair, what I can share with the committee is that the two positions are positions that mandatorily must be advertised: the position of Secretary for Defense and the position of the CFO. What do we anticipate to happen is that the minimum of 3 months is what is reasonable to go through the processes of having those posts filled. And for that period, and I'm saying 3 months maximum, if we do our work expeditiously, we should have the posts filled by then. Thank you very much, Chair.
All right, so, okay, no, it's fine, we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks, colleagues. Let's then move to item number 3. It's the consideration of an adoption of the first-term program. Please talk to it, Willem. I'm sure you'll point out, you'll draw attention to the changes that we are proposing.
Thank you, Chair. The committee program was adopted last year already, and there are just 2 omissions that we had in the program that we'd like to add, just to link it to what the committee requested last year and to make it more robust. And this is just an addition to the meeting on Wednesday, the 8th of March of 2023. You will see there in red are the additions. We have a briefing by the AG on the status of record reviews, and we include also feedback on material irregularities. And then the second point, a briefing by the DMV, a review of the and implementation of its audit action plans, and also we include there a feedback on the status of record reviews. This is just to have more comprehensive feedback on the AG's findings of last year, that the committee can take that forward. So I put these changes forth, Chair, for the committee's consideration.
Okay, let me just underline the point you've made, that the changes are necessitated by a letter we received from the AG requesting to brief the committee on the material irregularity matters. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, that's correct.
So much. So this is the slot. So if the committee agrees to this, we'll then write back to AG and say we are giving them the 8th of March. Because we have an appointment with them on the state review.
Fully support, sir.
Supported. Any objection? All right, no objection. Thank you so much. Can you move to the second item? Right, the second item is the briefing by the department on its quarterly report 2 and 3 for 22-23. I now invite the DM to make comments if there are any comments. He will then invite the team to take us through.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, in the interest of time, I will propose that the Acting Secretary for Defense be invited to take the committee through the reports that must be entertained this morning. Suffice to say that according to the agenda, the report that is going to be dealt with respect to the BRRR, it's the Department of Defense BRRR report. However, I have noted that we have also circulated the BRRR reports of two entities that falls under DOD, that is AMSCO and the Castle Board. So I plead that the committee allow the Acting Secretary for Defense to invite those entities as well to share their BRRR reports.
Thank you.
With your permission, Chair, back to you.
Thank you, DM. We are concerned, DM, that your submissions arrive very late. They give us just a day or two to go through them. That is in violation of known policy that committees must receive reports or briefing notes at least a week before the meeting that is scheduled to discuss those reports. Is there any reason why we are so late? Is there any reason why we received these reports late? In fact, this week.
Honorable Chair, the point that you are raising, it's a very valid point. It is also a concern that in preparing for this meeting, we also in the ministry did not have sufficient time to interact with the department about these presentations. However, Chair, we do undertake to make sure that the convention is adhered to with respect to this documentation. Our sincere apology to the committee. Thanks.
Thank you very much, DM. So we'll leave it at that for now. The apology is accepted. Can we then invite the Acting Secretary to run us through? Acting Secretary.
About the lateness of the presentations is noted, and we will correct that. With me, I have General Undu and General Jacobu. CHR will be joining from Richards Bay. Then I have Ms. Abotsi, who is acting CFO, Karen van der Berg, who works with the reports M&E Directorate, and Mr. Nick Sandal, who's helping with the acting in my post whilst I'm acting SecDev. I won't waste time, Chair. We are presenting to you two reports. One is the second quarter and the third quarterly report. We will go to slide 6 immediately so that we don't waste time. There we just going through the framework, and our framework, we have the impact statement, then we have the two outcomes that we work with. One is accountable and effective governance, and this is mostly in the area of the Defense Secretariat. Then the second one is about capabilities and ordered commitments, and this falls under the Chief of the Defense Force. We then have 5 outputs. Output 1, Chair, again, is an effective administration, and this falls mainly under the SecDev. Then the 4 remaining outputs is the force preparation, force provisioning, then force employment, as well as the support of the capabilities. And all this falls under the Chief. I'm not going to go through the activities because all the activities are there to support the mandate. The next slide, please. Then we are indicating there that we have in total 44 output indicators, 29 are public and 15 are classified. Just to take note, members, that the classified one are still monitored and managed within the department. However, they are also made available to the Auditor General for audit purposes. The next slide. The slide there is still giving a pie chart per program. How many outposts do we have per program? Next slide. There we are indicating the indicators. We have 61 in total, and we are indicating how many indicators we had in Q1, but we are reporting on 12, sorry, not indicators, targets. And then we have 12 targets in Q2. We have 10 in Q3, and then we will be reporting on the rest during Q4. The non-financial information, just to go quickly, I will focus mostly on in areas where we didn't do very well. Members can see that first preparation is have 3 reds, and that is all to do with training. In this regard, some training was moved from Q2 to Q3. Then when you look at your extreme right, and we also have there a red, which is in the IT environment. Again, there are a number of reasons there, ranging from the availability of a capacity within the SITA environment to the capabilities in the disaster management area. Next slide. Then again, here we are looking at still the red one, which is still the military health services. Now here, what happened is you had a number of learners or members that were taken to training, about 211 of them. Now that area is red because not all of them succeeded in the course. And our indicator is such that if there is there are those who failed the course, then it will appear as red. I think in the future, we might want to separate that indicator to indicate the intake. And then maybe we might have another indicator that will indicate the number of successes. Thank you. And there we are indicating, again, I'll mostly focus on the red. On top, we have the number of reserve force man-days. Members will remember that initially in the past years, we used to have about 2.6 million man-days. But due to the cost of employees, our HR plan that we submitted to National Treasury, we tried to reduce the total number of man-days per annum to 1.9. Why it is red, at the end of the third quarter, we are already at 2.1, and reason being the ad hoc deployments of Vikela in Mozambique, as well as of Chariot, which was responding to the floods in KZN. The amber there is about the SADC standby force, and we didn't achieve the target because of the non-availability of naval vessels. Then we go to a number of sea hours, which is also red due to the same reason that I've indicated, the availability of naval vessels. There is just a snapshot of what we achieved, which was 8 in Q2 and 4 not achieved, and Q3, 8 and again 2 not achieved. And members would recall that we always explain that not achieved does not mean that nothing was done. It just means that we didn't achieve the target that we set for ourselves. Then under corporate services, we are indicating there that we started with a planned strength of 73,098, but we ended the third quarter with 71,729, and that is inclusive of 1,993 MSDS. We are also indicating here that when it comes to reserve force members, we have exceeded the planned target, as I explained before, the reasons why. And just to indicate, members, that that number is still going to rise because we had a deployment for ESCOM as well in December. Earmarked funding, members will recall that we had 1.8 billion allocated to the department by National Treasury in order to deal with issues of HR. There is MEM, which is the exit mechanism for the SNDF. We were given 1 billion in the 2022-23 financial year, and an additional 800 million in the 2023 financial year. Members should just note that the 800 million is actually conditional on the department using the 1 billion that was allocated for 2022. We are, however, also indicating that this money that was allocated by the National Treasury does not include what we call departmental benefits, which means that the leave benefits and the retrenchment package still comes from the department, and that is estimated at about 900 million. Chair, those are the approved MEMs during the quarter, but I must say in bullet 2, that has already been cleared, but because we're reporting on the third quarter, it was not signed in December, but it has since been signed at the beginning of February. So all in all now, we have over 1,000 approved MEM, and there is no longer any schedule that is in the ministry. When it comes to the command of forces, we have priority 6, which is social cohesion and safe communities. Here we respond on the cybersecurity command, but the whole cybersecurity matter is led by the state security. We are only responsible for the cyber command. And when it comes to that, there was an allocation for operating budget, but there is still a challenge with human resources. Then priority 7, we report on peace support operations, which we still have in the DRC, of Mistral and of Vikela in Mozambique. Just for members here to indicate that the first bullet, whilst was still in the DRC, but the specialist contingent in Kinshasa was terminated last year in October. Of Vikela, I've reported on it in Mozambique. There was no deployment for OPCOPA during the third quarter. And support to the people, there we are reporting on Corona, border safeguarding, and I'm not going to read all that, but just to indicate to the members that we are still at the borders. When it comes to quarter, go back please. We didn't have any maritime coastal patrol in quarter 3. Then there are successes there. I'm not going through all of them in the borderline. Here we are indicating that we we had a standby, or we were on standby to deal with any matter that could result in violence or criminality. So what normally happens here, we just on standby, but there was no request for either of Prosper, or even there was no request, please go, yes. There was also no request for disaster and aid relief, and there was also no request for search and rescue, which is Arabella and Chariot. Then when you go to 31, we are indicating there the number of exercises that we had. It's indicated, I'm not going to read the dates there, but we have had Shadow Court with the Americans, we've had Ipsama, we've had Oxide, and the last one will be in the last quarter, which is the ex-Mosi 2 with Russia and China. Then the overview of our financial results, we are indicating there that we started with the just over 49 billion, but we were given another 2.5 billion. So we ended up with 51.6 billion through the adjusted EME. The breakdown of the 2.5 covers Op Chariot in KZN, it covers Op Vikela, and also the reinvestments that we got for the letters of assist on the Oryx and the Royal Falk, as well as Mistral. Then lastly, it was just a small amount, but we are grateful that we got from National Treasury in order to adjust our cost of living adjustment. And there we're just indicating that we had planned for the third quarter to be at 72.5, and the actual expenditure to date is 72.9. There, members, we are indicating what we planned to spend and what was the actual spending and the variance there too. When you look at administration, we have overspent there. All the minuses numbers indicate the overspending. And I'm going to give reasons why in the later slides. There is still the same data, but we are presenting it in terms of the economic classification. The red there indicates the overspending that we had per program. So in the administration program, there was a deviation, and this was because of the municipal bills that we had to pay. But this, obviously, the adjustment will be done in the fourth quarter. Then under forced employment, again, there was an overspending there, and primarily was because of Vikela, as well as, and then this will also be adjusted in the fourth quarter, and the floods in KZN. Then the overspending on landward defense was primarily because of insufficient item 10, which is the cost of living. Air defense, they have underspent, and their underspending is because of the challenges within the AMSCO environment, the long procurement processes of space, and this is impacting negatively on their spending. The other reason was obviously the challenges that the Air Force has with Denel, and then the delays that are attributed to the delays in the processes of the exit mechanism. The underspending within the maritime environment again is a number of issues ranging from mechanical, electrical, firefighting, fuel, and ration contracts that were anticipated to be in place, but they were not in place. Again, is the long processes within the department here, and the prolonged procurement processes. Again, some contractors, what they do, if they realize that they cannot deliver orders, they just cancel. So we also have late cancellations that impacted on the cash flow. The military help, again, there was an underspending there, and then it is related to the delays in terms of the exit strategy. With the defense intelligence, we had an overspending there, and the reason of the overspending was that we had a function shift. Defense foreign relations was in program 1, and it was shifted during the course of the year to program 6, which was defense intelligence. Then what happened is the HR side of the shifting, which are the people, was shifted, but the budget was still remaining with the administration. So as a result, it means defense intelligence was now paying these people from their budget, hence the underspending, the overspending. Then general support, again, the overspending is related to the cost of living, insufficient cost of employees. Then the compensation of employees, there was an overspending, and we're indicating that members are aware that we are actually projecting an overspending of 2.7 billion. And we are indicating that taking money from the operating budget is not sustainable. And we are also indicating that the reduction in the operating budget of the SANDF will compromise the delivery on the constitutional mandate of the SANDF. When it comes to goods and services, there was an underspending. And then we have transfers and subsidies. Here we are indicating one, that the Reserve Force Council expired in 2021. And as a result, the money, the cash flow, the money that was going to go there was not utilized. And then again, the delays in the exit strategy implementation. But we have indicated already, members, remember, I've already indicated that the 239 that were in the ministry has already been approved. So we are already now sitting at over 1,000 approvals. Then we are also indicating the GEPF side that has been given by National Treasury, and that we also have departmental liability that we have to pay, which is just above 900 million. Then the payments for capital assets. What we have there is that the first one was what we paid for the building of the military hospital, the sick bay facilities in Saldanha, as well as the perimeter fence at Wingfield, and other refurbishment activities. So we spent higher than what we anticipated. We also procured during this time the transport equipment for utilization in both external and internal deployments. Please continue. Then payments for financial assets. These are what we actually do not budget for. We wait until that could be anything ranging from foreign exchange to theft and any other losses. So what we do, we have money in reserves and we clear all these at the end of the financial year. But it's a very, very, very low amount, insignificant actually. Thank you, members. I'll take the questions.
You budget for theft as well?
No, we don't budget. We don't budget for theft. We don't budget for theft and other losses.
No. I'm saying it in just. I understood exactly what you were saying. Acting for theft. Thank you very much for your presentation. Right, colleagues, can we take comments and questions on this clear presentation? I only have one question or comment to make, Acting Secretary, that you report on MEM, but you are not reporting on the employee initiated severance program. If you can report on that one as well, how are you doing in terms of on that? How are you doing on that front? I know that there are people who have failed themselves for this for employee initiated severance program, but you're not getting any information on it. There is a savings that will result from that exercise as well. Mr. Murray?
Chair, I struggle a little bit with my camera. Would you mind if they first answer that question, and then I will check mine and get mine ready, that I put my question as soon as they've answered yours?
No, that's fine. Okay. Can you just quickly dispose my question of Acting Secretary?
Thank you, Chair. First, I just want to clear this, that the allocation that was provided by National Treasury, which is 1.8 billion, was for MEM. It wasn't for the EISP. The EISP takes a different route. And yes, members are applying for EISP, but it has to be also supported by the PSA. If members want us to also provide maybe numbers of the approvals, we can do that on the 1st of March. Members will remember that HR, we will be presenting to you a comprehensive HR standing as far as the MEM is concerned. We can then include that information on EISP on the presentation of the 1st of March because it is available.
Please do that. No, thank you very much, Acting Secretary. Please do that, because the reason behind the introduction of these two programs was so that we can try and contain the escalating compensation of employee, the COE, what you call allocation. So want to leave it at that for now. Mr. Mare, I now see Dr. Pasopu, and I don't know whose iPad. Can I just get...
Chair, it's myself, man. I'm struggling to rename it.
Okay, no, it's fine. We'll say Tabo Nelson iPad Mutle. Over to Mr. Mare, Dr. Pasopu, and then Mr. Mutle.
Thank you very much, Chair. Much appreciated. Thank you, Secretary, for your input. I want to start off with cost of employees. You've indicated that we are very close to 3 billion rand overspent If I am correct, you can correct me, we have received in the medium-term adjustment budget 800 million rand towards that. Just correct me on that. And then that was at the third quarter that we are already close to 3 billion rand overspent. What is the expected overspend for the financial year? And how do you foresee that that will be funded? How will that impact on our operations and especially our maintenance? Because there's only a few items where you can actually take that money away. And then also, in terms of reserve force man days, where we are already at the third quarter at over 2 million man days, with the additional authorizations, deployment authorizations, do you have any indication and expectation at this where we will be ending at the end of the financial year? Because that has got a major impact on cost of employees. We must be honest about that, because we know that that is included. Just on the MEM, just over 1,000 on MEM is actually very good. So we have achieved quite a lot in terms of numbers. However, do we know at this stage what the effect of that is in terms of unintended consequences? I get the impression that we have lost quite a number of personnel that we would actually prefer to retain in terms of expertise and knowledge and experience, compared to maybe what we could have afforded to lose in terms of numbers. Because somehow we must mitigate that challenge, either in terms of expertise and leadership and all of that, and knowledge that we have now lost, that we must now get from somewhere. So it's either reappointments or new appointments or retraining or whatever must take place. And then we have basically might have a situation where we have got spare capacity that we was probably hoping to lose, that we have not lost. Do we know how we will mitigate those challenges? Then, just in terms of because this is about the operations and the reports on that, do we know what the state of our long-term preserved prime mission equipment is? You will recall that last year it was reported that the contracts for the maintenance of the environmentally controlled warehouses were not renewed, and we visited the ones in the BRRR ourselves. So we know that that might have a huge impact on the immediate deployability of those prime mission equipment. Do we know what the state is of that, and whether that will be renewed in the new financial year? Whether processes have been started in that, because the minister has responded in writing last year on that. Then the other one, in terms of our logistical capabilities, whether it is inside South Africa, whether it's especially air logistical capabilities and support to our paratroopers, to our special forces, to our soldiers in the DRC and in Mozambique, and even on the border. We know that there's a huge problem with the C-130s. We have discussed that. We know what the situation is. However, we have picked up that there's quite a number of charters that has taken place, especially of the Illusion 76 from Kazakhstan, that has been chartered. Do we know, and can you tell us what is the impact of that? How many charters were there? How many flights were there? Do we know the impact of that on our cost and things like that? Because that will certainly assist us going forward. Then, in terms of, I think you have referred to our naval capabilities and the fact that we have spent so little time on the water, which is a major problem. Last year, it was reported that all 4 frigates and the 3 submarines were unserviceable. And we have had discussions with the Minister of Finance, and he has committed himself to provide funding specifically for the upgrades of our vessels, hopefully in this budget, but over the medium term. Can you confirm whether the midlife upgrades on the SS Mendi has been completed and how that was funded? And if not, what is the defense capability currently then with regards to Mendi? The King Sikakunu, we know is our new vessel. That is a fantastic inshore patrol vessel. Is that still in testing phase? And if in testing phase, what is its current capability in terms of maritime patrols, but also in terms of defending our nation and the readiness of that? With regards to also what was last year reported, only 2 Gripens were serviceable. Can you just give us the current status, whether that is improved, whether we are still at 2 and what can be expected, and also when? The other one that is of major importance to us is the Super Lynx. That is normally, on the frigates. And we know that the Super Lynx were also not serviceable, and those service contracts were a problem. Then, Dr. Gumede, with regards to your office, and that's not you in person in terms of SecDef, we know it's the office of the SecDef. There were certain the PP, the public prosecutor's office has done investigations, has made certain findings, and had certain requirements in terms of report backs from your office to the public protector, and there was a certain dates been specified. Have you responded to those requirements of the public protector? Because that has an impact on your administration. And if not, why not? And when will that be done? I can mention specific cases, but I don't think that is necessary. Then, in terms of SecDef, also your office, acting SecDef, it was also reported last year in writing that when the St. George's Hotel was leased, the PFMA requirements were not followed and basically ignored, which implies that that will be not only illegal but irregular and probably wasteful expenditure in terms of the Auditor General's requirement to comply, and National Treasury to comply with PFMA regulations. And I know the Minister has said at that stage that he has instructed the SecDef to take the necessary steps to rectify that, which means that either it must be rectified or cancelled. What is the situation? And then the last question I've got, there was an RFI by Arms Corps. Whilst I do not see any money really being set aside for capital acquisitions of prime mission equipment, vehicles, whatever it might be, for our defense force. In this case, the RFI was for infantry patrol carriers. What is the situation in that regard? Are we doing some capital acquisitions? And if not, what is the purpose of the RFI that was sent out? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pasopo, and then Mutle after Dr. Pasopo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you as well as to the members of the Portfolio Committee.
May I invite you to set your video on, unless you think it will interfere with your system. Okay, that's fine. Over to you, sir.
To the DM as well as the officials of the department, Chairperson, in welcoming the acting SOCDEV, I hope that as much as she was officially introduced by the DM, we will also get something in writing as a committee for our record purposes. Now, in terms of the report, in my view, Chair, I can safely say there is an improvement from the department as compared with the previous years. But however, hence I'm having few questions to raise for now. The first one, Chair, is around the targets that were set. What is good about the reports, about the report, is that there is a clear indication as to why those targets were not met. But what is not coming up clearly is a mechanism to ensure that in future we don't have targets that are being set, but ultimately they are not met. So what I'm saying therefore is that there is no mechanism for me that is coming up clearly in that regard. Then the last question, Chairperson, is on transfers and subsidies. In that, Chair, there is a mention of monies that were not utilized. But what is not coming up is of course, the reasons have been put forward again as to why those monies were not utilized. But what is going to happen with that money? Because when we voted for the monies for a specific program. Now, from this report, it's not coming up that the money that has not been utilized, what is going to happen with it? Because in my view, we should be told what is that they are going to do with the money. So if we're saying yes, we say yes. If we're saying no, we say no, because that money was voted by us. I think, Chair, for me, for now, those are the few questions that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, Chair. For network purposes, I will switch off my video, Chair, and good morning to you and everyone on the platform, and happy belated birthday. You did not declare your birthday, so you must send the cake through. All right, Chair. My question is around factors contributing to deviation around those programs that they have deviated. Can the acting SecDev maybe take us into confidence? What is the main contributor? Because they present the APPs, we pass the budget, they know what they are supposed to do by when, and most importantly, what appears there is on essential services that they should be contracted, the likes of your fuel, mechanical, electrical, and your Russian contracts that they indicate that those for the financial year in question have not been materialized. Why are they prolonging such essential services? Where are the hiccups? What is the challenge, so that we have an understanding? We know we had a presentation from them on this, the fuel. They said they are going to taking a different route, but how well are they doing in terms of that? And with other contracts, why is it difficult for them to process them timeously to ensure and avoid this deviation? Because seated where I'm seated, it's like it's a deliberate act, so that they do not follow the processes. They are comfortable with this deviation, and it can't continue to be correct. They must be able to indicate to us what is the problem. Generally, with everything that is under deviation, it looks like it's a deliberate move to avoid following processes. So if they can take us into confidence with regard to that, I think in the main it's the questions, a question that encompasses everything under deviation. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. No, thank you very much, colleagues. May I invite the Dr. Kamete to respond to the questions. I'm sure she'll be.
Thank you. Can I proceed, Chair?
So may proceed, ma'am.
Thank you. I will request my team to assist me here, but I'll start from the last question from Honorable Lutle. The deviation, the deviations that we're talking about in is not a procurement deviation. In other words, it's not like we want to bypass the correct procurement process. Is a deviation from the planned cash flow. You have planned to spend this much by the end of the quarter, and you end up either spending less than what you planned or spending more than what you planned because of certain events during that quarter. For example, if there was no delivery, then it means you are not going, and you have planned to receive a delivery of spares that quarter. If you don't receive it, it means you are not going to pay that money. And therefore, there is a deviation from your planned expenditure.
Please set your own SecDef, and as you think it will weigh heavily on your network.
Okay, thank you. It normally does, but we will request to switch it off if it becomes heavier. So I think I've explained the deviation that Honorable Mutla is talking about. And when it comes to St. George's, I've just come into the office. The minister has instructed me. I had a meeting with her. She has instructed me to make sure that I correct whatever didn't go well. So that is at hand, Chair. And I am hoping that at least by the end of the financial year, we would have find some way forward in order to correct this. But that is my first instruction that the minister has given me. Thank you. And then when it comes to the public protector reports, I must admit that I am not aware of any public which were in the office of the SecDef, but I will make it my job to now go and look, because you can't look for what you don't know. So there was no handover. So there are certain things that I am finding as I go. So I will request for the indulgence of the committee to allow me to try and find more information in this respect. And then I will the targets, that is the question from Honorable Pasogu. Yes, we have the targets, and we have now tried to institute some mechanism to track whether or not services and divisions will be able to achieve the target. We are now presenting to the ANC, which is the Accountability Committee, what we call M&E reports. So these M&E reports will indicate to the chief of a service or a division if a certain target is at risk of not being achieved. So that one, Chair, I think we started in this financial year in producing those reports, and I'm hoping that they will have an impact in the way that we track these targets, because sometimes it is not very useful to tell people towards the end of the financial year that you are not going to achieve your target. So that is at hand, Chair. And then I will ask Mr. Abotsi to respond on the question that was asked on the cost of employees and the projected over expenditure, but I had already indicated that to members, but I still ask the acting CFO to deal with that. And then the prime mission equipment, the status there, and the logistical support. I am going to request General Tundu to respond to that. The same to maritime, the state of maritime, the refits. Just to indicate that National Treasury has given us 1.4 billion already to try and tackle the matter of the refits or maintenance and repairs in the maritime space. So Eden, through you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair and members of the PCD. With regard to the question from Honorable Murray on the projected overspending of the COE budget, yes, it's our projected overexpenditure will be approximately 2.7 billion, and this will be the 2.7 billion plus the departmental liability relating to the MEM exits. So it will be the 2.7 billion plus the departmental liability of about 944 million rand when we finalize the entire exits mechanism by the end of the financial year. The 800 million that was received was not to offset or to reduce the overspending, but that had to do with the 3% salary increase that government employees received. So that unfortunately will not have reduced the projected overspending. The impact thereof also has an impact on the exit mechanism liability, because once the salary increase went up by 3%, the actual spending or the actual payout, the actual severance package payout to the members has also increased by approximately 3%. Then there was a question from Dr. Pasopu with regard to the transfers and subsidies. The 491 million underspending is linked to the exit mechanism. So as at the 31st of December, we hadn't expensed that money yet. But by the end of February, when we exit the 1290 employees, then that's transfers and subsidies, because it's linked to that specific line item, would have spent the money by then. So there would not be any underspending of that. The only other one that there will be a saving on is the one related to the Reserve Force Council. That is a very minuscule amount. It's approximately about 6 million. So the 6 million relates to the Reserve Force Council. That is for which contract has expired, but a bulk of the money relates to the exit mechanism. So once we exit our members, that money will be spent by the 31st of March. Thank you, Chair.
General.
Honorable Chair, I'm just going to browse through the prime mission related questions by Honorable Murray in terms of the mid-life upgrade of our maritime vessels, Sikukune and so on. Can I indicate that our focus was on the performance information on the second and the third quarterly report? And therefore, what I'm going to say may not be 100% accurate because we had not prepared this information to provide to the portfolio committee. But as far as one can recall, the multi-mission inshore patrol vessels is still on trials. If it was a landward capability, we'll be saying it's operational testing and evaluation. That evaluation now, because it's maritime platforms, is called sea trials, is important to make sure that it is fit for purpose and to what extent can it operate efficiently for the purpose that it has been designed. As of when the OT&E or sea trials are finalized, I'm sure the report with the SA Navy and the National Defence Force will be happy to share with the portfolio committee of the report to confirm the relevance and the appropriateness of the multi-mission vessel. The midlife upgrade of SS Mendi could have continued if funds were available. However, we know that funds are not available even if these upgrades were planned. What is available, or what is likely available, is the funds that have been made or allocated preliminarily to the SA Navy 500 up until something like 1.4 billion, for which the National Defence Force is busy finalizing its planning in terms of how it is going to go about and try to make sure that at least by the end of the medium term, these maritime platforms are available and can sail at sea. In respect of unintended consequences as a result of men, can I indulge the chairperson and the portfolio committee that this question be rather deferred to the HR presentation on the 1st of March, because such an analysis must still be done or is still being done by CHR or HR environment for presentation to the military command, who will then, that will be the basis for a debate and conclusions that will be made. So only when such information is made available to the military command, conclusions can be made and appropriately communicate that to the portfolio committee. Unless there is some of the questions that I'm leaving out. In respect of the RFIs, that will be deeply in the project's environment. And we would like to, if that is the case, to change the format of the meeting and be given at least enough time to prepare and engage with the portfolio committee. I submit.
Okay, colleagues, Dr. Kamete, are you done?
Chair, I'm done, except just to indicate that the mechanical and electrical and firefighting contracts were completed by our commercial board, as well as the issue of the ration packs will be advertised soon. That process of getting it through the commercial board has been completed as well, Chair. So the condition in the environment is going to improve in the 4th quarter. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Can I check, colleagues, if you had all your questions responded to? Not new questions, please.
I have a follow-up.
You are fine. Mr. Mutle?
No, thanks, Chair.
Okay.
I got the response from the acting SecDef. However, I think my question still stands because my knowledge tells me that if it is a plan, there's a planned expenditure under a program, and you do not spend according to a plan, it must be an under expenditure or an over expenditure. Now, it is an issue of semantics. Maybe the financial lingo is changing from time to time. It's evolving. The context that they are speaking of in terms of deviation from their plan versus overspending and underspending is what they need to come clear on, because I think what the report is saying, or the presentation says, these deviations are as a result of prolonged, if I'm correct, prolonged procurement processes. What does that mean? If it is not talking about procurement processes, what does that statement mean? Maybe they can clarify what that statement means versus the response that they have given. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murray?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the responses that was provided. Only partial, only a few was responded to. I've got no problem if the department wants to respond in writing afterwards, in other words, go and make sure about the information. The questions that was not responded to at all was the question about the maintenance contracts of the systems that control the environment of those warehouses. And you know, we know the ones that we have visited in the BRRR, and there are about 6 to 8 of them in South Africa. So that was not responded to. That was already on black and white responded to last year. So it is not something new. The other one is about the logistical support. You know, everybody is aware of all the illusions that is flying, you know, in Pretoria all over the show. So that's not something new, and that's something that one would expect that the department will know about and be prepared to give us some answers. The other one that was not responded to was the grippins, which was also part of what was communicated last year. With regards to the Mendy, thank you very much for those responses. The links, that there was no response to the links that is supposed to be on the frigates. And then the RFI is also something that has been on paper. So I expected that the Department of Defense has made some decisions in terms of the RFIs that they can inform us on. And Chair, the last one that that was not properly answered to, if Dr. Kumede wants information with regards to the public protector's finding, I will gladly assist her. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kamete. Dr. Kamete.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Apologies for that delay. I will request then that we provide written answers to the information that Honorable Marel is looking for, but I will ask the acting CFO to explain again what is this deviation and what does it mean when you say the deviation is as a result of a prolonged procurement process.
Thank you, Chair and Honorable Motley. Yes, Honorable Motley, we do concur with you. The way our systems have been working, and unfortunately we are dependent on the procurement processes. We dependent on external entities to assist us with the procurement process, such as AMSCOR, DINEL, and whichever other environment that we may require to assist us with our procurement processes. So there are some delays. Unfortunately, also because of our taskings that may not always be planned for, such as where we're sitting right now with ESCOM, where we are required to assist with ESCOM, but we haven't been funded for that. We basically, unfortunately, to use the term, but we basically rob Peter to pay Paul to assist us with managing our budget and our finances. So in most of the instances, it may be due to the procurement processes that are taking too long to effect, and that becomes a challenge. So we do concur with you. Your statement is correct. It's the way our procurement process has been happening and our dependence on other external entities to assist us. But it's also a lot of costs that we do incur. We've always said as a department, we do not want to utilize our operating budget to pay for compensation of employee shortfalls. But when we do get taskings such as what happened with ESCOM, then it becomes a bit of a challenge where you have to reprioritize from within your budget allocations to see now what do you sacrifice. And Honorable Mare may ask, but then what are you sacrificing from a mission readiness point of view to pay other things? We try not to to take money from those that are contracted for, and those have an impact on us to be able to run the defense force, operate effectively, and to achieve our mandates. That we do not do. But that is where the challenges are. We have to, unfortunately, manage our budgets in such a way that we are able to to manage our deployments, manage any other thing that may be critically required for us to achieve our mandates. So that is unfortunately what happens with these. But it's just unfortunate because the bulk of our deliverance from the suppliers is normally in the last quarter of the financial year. AMSCOR and the entities can only deliver around February of every year. So by the month of December, when we do present to you the second and third quarter, a lot of the other entities will have money that hasn't been spent, but a bulk of the transactions would have gone off between this month and March. So a lot of changes will come in the fourth quarter where money is being moved around to be able to meet our obligations. And our challenge also is we've always been underfunded for our municipal charges, our DPW related obligations, our municipal obligations, our leases. Our leases on average are underfunded by approximately 600 million a year. So we have to manage the budget in such a way that we have obligations that are
We lost you, Mr. Bonsi.
Yeah, we lost him. Thank you.
Mr. Abonsi, we lost you.
Utilized, unfortunately, from Chinese accounting to manage our obligations. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right, colleagues.
Chair, you are muted.
Sorry. Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm suggesting we leave it at that for now. It's an in-ear monitoring. So we're told that this is the report of the second and third quarter, and some of what appear to be deviations now may appear differently in the next quarter, which is the next and final quarter of the year, because some more delivery would have or further delivery would have taken place. All right, so we'll leave it at that, colleagues. Thank you very much, Acting SecDef and your team on this first item. Let's quickly move to the second item, is the BRRR. Just before I ask you, SecDef, to run us through, let me invite Dr. Jens van Rensbeck just to beam what the issues that we expected you to respond to, and the dates by which we expected you to provide those responses. So these are the recommendations that were became the resolution of Parliament, because this report was presented and debated in Parliament. So just quickly talk to the deadlines, Willem.
Thank you, Chair and members. Chair, you correctly stated that this BRRR of the committee was tabled in ATC on the 31st of August, I think, or October, sorry, last year. And there were two sections. The first was, in terms of the committee recommendations, the first was recommendations to the Minister of Finance, and these are normally responded to by the Minister of Finance in the MTBPA statement, which should come out with the budget next year. That was followed by a number of recommendations to the Minister of Defence. I don't know if I have to go through all of them, Chair, but these were recommendations for discussion that we would have today. But in addition to that, Chair, there was also reporting requirements. And for these reporting requirements, there were certain feedback dates set. The reason for this is that it would enable the committee to quickly track these matters and also bring it up for discussion and work it into the coming programs of the committee. So the reporting requirements were related to Project Tusano, written feedback by the 1st of February, specifically against the views of the AG that was expressed in terms of Project Tusano. Secondly was quarterly progress reports on the implementation of its audit action plans. In this sense, Chair, we are covered because there is a meeting planned for the 8th of March that will speak specifically to this item. Thirdly, the DoD should provide biannual reports on the implementation of consequence management. There will be some upcoming meetings in this regard as well, but the biannual written reports should be submitted no later than the 1st of May, so this deadline is also still coming. Then there was also a requirement that the committee noted environments in programs 3, 4, and 5 due to the much reduced spending on contractors. The DoD should provide the committee with a written response on the planned contractor spending that was not realized in 2021-22, specifically as it relates to the maintenance of operational equipment. And this information should be provided to the committee by 15 December 2022. And lastly, in the previous estimates of natural expenditure, the DoD planned to transfer 1 billion rand from the Special Defense account. The DoD should provide information in writing to the committee on the actual transfers to the SDA, and this information should be provided to the committee by 15 December 2022. So those were the reporting requirements to help us, Chair, but for today's purpose, we also need to look at the actual recommendations to the Minister of Defence and the responses thereto. Thank you.
Okay, right now, thank you very much. I asked William to project these recommendations precisely to show you, SecDef, that some dates have, have come and gone. With you not with no what you call report forthcoming, and we're meeting now for the first time in the new year, and we only are receiving this today. So it means that the reporting requirements were.
Thank you, Chair. We have 5 reporting requirements to make to the PCD, and we met the deadlines for 1, the environments that we were expected to report to, which were 3, 4, and for program 3, 4, and 5. Which were reduced spending on contractors, and all that information was submitted by the due date, which was the 15th of December. Then the other one was the one that is about the Special Defense account, and that one as well was responded to by the due date of the 15th of December 2022. Then there was a requirement for us to report biannually on consequence management with regard to material irregularities, irregular expenditure, and fruitless and wasteful. And that one is only due in May, and we will report as required, Chair, in May. Then there is another one, and that is about the audit action plan, the implementation thereof, and that, Chair, is due on the 8th of March, and we have a presentation already ready to present to the PCD on the 8th of March. Then the last one was directly to the Minister of Defense, and that was about reviewing Project Tusano. As members know that AXA raised concerns with regard to this contract, and the Minister has instructed the department to evaluate and then make recommendations. And the department is in the process of evaluating this project, Chair. We acknowledge the due date of the 1st of Feb has already come and gone, and we apologize, but this process is underway as instructed by the Minister. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Willem, I don't know why this information is not served before the members. The department seemed to be suggesting that they've met all the deadlines, at least those that have come and gone. Yet we did not receive the information. Willem, what would have been the reason? Do you know?
Chair, I checked my records. I didn't have any records of this, but due to Brian's absence, this might have been communicated to Brian. So if you just give me a moment to, when Brian is back from sick leave, I will check with him. Maybe it was communicated with him. We can just maybe check with him and then get back to the committee on this one.
Okay. All right. No, it's fine. Dr. Kamete, my apologies. I think the miscommunication might be on our side. With that, I now invite you to run us through.
Okay, I've just did it. I've just gone through 5 reporting requirements that we're supposed to do.
Yes, but you're just giving us the dates when they were supposed to have happened. You are not talking to them.
Oh,
Please.
okay. Then we can talk. I will then ask the acting CFO, because remember there are 2 that were due on the 15th of December that we have met. Then one, I said that on Optusana, that one we're working on it, and the 2 that are left, the dates are still coming. So I'll ask the CFO to speak to the ones that already submitted in December.
Thank you, Chair. I just realized. Thank you, Chair. I just realized Willem actually did flight point number 4 and point number 5. If he doesn't mind reflighting it, then I will be able to talk to its Chair.
Willem?
Chair, just a second. I'll just see if I can refine that thing. I'm going to ask them also to stop hosting, that I can host, stop screen sharing, then I can do it on my side.
My screen is just frozen. I'm trying to just, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, second. Are these the ones you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Those are the ones. So, Chair, the question was with regard to program 345, did we reduce the spending on, why did we reduce the spending on contractors, and what was the impact thereof? So, Willem, if you don't mind going down. Thank you.
Sorry, would
yeah,
you like
just go no, a bit down, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the gist of everything is here. Okay, so Chair, what we are explaining is for contractors in the previous year was 1.6 billion, and then for the 2021 financial year, 1.2 billion. So there was a reduction of 440 million, and that had to deal with the maintenance and repair of ships and the delays in contract management, hence the reductions on contractors. And our presentation now on the 3rd quarter report also explains why there was challenges, and also linked to the questions that was raised by Honorable Mutley about why the challenges that we have about the spending that may not be in line with what we planned. So a bulk of them had to do with the delays during that period, the delays that we had linked to the COVID-19 and the suppliers not being able to perform and to deliver. And then there was the other issue with related to our contracts on the Oryx, the RAFAC and the C-130s. And I think our biggest challenge is in the absence of Denel, this has a huge impact because our contracting related to the air platforms have an impact on Denel. Denel is the one that manages our air platforms. So with the concerns and challenges we had with Denel during the COVID period and the current status of Denel, it had a huge impact on managing this specific contract. And I think when AMSCO presents on their BRRR, they'll be able to talk exactly to this specific requirement that was mainly due to the reduction of our contract amount that had reduced. Valen, if you don't mind just going down for the next question that dealt with the SDA. So the next question dealt with, there was an ENE that indicated we were going to transfer 1 billion to the SDA. The actual transfer for that period, we transferred 1.6 billion from our allocation from National Treasury to the SDA. Now the total expenditure for that period was 2.9 billion. So we did transfer 1.6 billion, but we actually expensed about 2.9 billion for that period. And the question was, did we use any of that money relating to compensation of employees? No, we did not. So none of the funds that we planned for the SDA expenditure was shifted to compensation of employees to pay our salaries. So the 2.9 billion, a bulk of it came from capital acquisition and technology development of 1.7 billion approximately. And then there was non-project related expenditure, such as the acquisition of ammunitions, maintenance of defense capabilities, and research and development up to about 844 million. When AMSCO do their presentation, these figures in principle will talk to what they will present to you in their response to the BRRR. Within the sensitive projects environment, we did spend 330.2 million. So the 2.9 billion that we did expense for the SDA within the 21-22 financial year dealt with this, and the AG was able to audit all this, and they had full access to it, and we gave them all supporting documentations. So back to your question to answer that finally, did we transfer 1 billion? We transferred 1.6 billion. Did we use any of that money for COE? No, we did not. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Let me then invite AMSCO. I don't know who is in the meeting representing AMSCO. Please, please announce yourself. After we'll invite Calvin from CCP to do the same. I want us to take the discussion on all three. That will be at the end of the presentation by Calvin. Over to you, AMSCO.
Good morning, Chair, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, the Deputy Minister, and members of the DOD. Chair, my name is Mishak Tefu. On the reporting requirements of the BRRR, there were 7 questions, Chair, that we needed to deal with. Of the 7 questions, one related to the consequence management in relation to regular expenditure. However, the due date for reporting on this particular item is the 1st of May. So, Chair, will then be reporting on the 6 items, progress in relation to the completion of phase 1 of Project First-term, the action plan, the development of the of KAMAS. There's the missile system for the South African Air Force, the high-level breakdown on the maintenance status for the RAFAC, the Oryx, and the C-130. I think Honorable Maria has already alluded to this. Further to that, will also, I think this is one of the questions that Honorable Maria raised on the serviceability of the frigate in particular the mending. We'll then look at the report on revenue from commercial activities. Chair, I will then, with your indulgence, request my colleague, Dr. Fosu, just to run through the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Honourable Chair, Honourable Deputy Minister, honourable members of the Portfolio Committee, our presentation is visible to all members.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as Mr. Tefo indicated, we will run through the reporting requirements. Our presentation will consist of two parts. I will address the acquisition-related items, and then our colleagues from the Research and Development Department will look at the outstanding item. Chair, the items which we will be addressing will be the phase one of Project Hoefyster, the status of the ADART missile, as Mr. Tefo indicated, and support contracts, and then look at the maintenance contract status for the 3 aircraft that are being maintained by Denel, being the Oryx, the Royal and the C-130 fleet. And then we will look at the status of the vessels of the SA Navy, the frigates and the submarines. Chair, if I may start with the status of phase one of Project Hoefyster. Chair, we reported in the previous meeting that Project Control Board, and the Project Control Board is the forum where the high-level decisions regarding the way forward with the project will be made. That the Project Control Board would have been held by December last year. Unfortunately, I have to report that it has not happened. We had a Project Control Board, a PCD, scheduled for the 25th of November at the Army Battle School in Lohadla. Unfortunately, this meeting at the last moment had to be converted to an information brief, as the Project Control Board could not continue due to there not being a quorum for the meeting to continue. So that was converted to an information brief to the South African Army Council. We received very important guidelines from the Chief of the Army and the Army Council with regards to how we should proceed with the Project Control Board and what actions still need to be taken. Amongst others, the Chief Army requested that we have a separate and a detailed briefing on the non-compliances to specifications of the vehicle, and this has been the main issue, Chair. The Hoefyster vehicle has in excess of 1,000 functional specifications. During the operational test and development test and evaluation of the Hoefyster vehicle, the section variant of the Hoefyster vehicle, there were 60 non-compliances to specifications that we needed to get a waiver on for us to continue with the vehicle. And Chair, I must mention that there has been a lot of hype about the non-compliances. We have in detail scrutinized these non-compliances to specification, and they are deemed to not adversely affect the operational capability of the vehicle. Some of them are very minor. We have engaged with the end user, with the South African Infantry Formation, with regards to these non-compliances to specification for which we require a waiver. They are in agreement with that, but we need to present these to the Project Control Board to get a formal waiver of the non-compliances, and that would unlock the continuation of the program and would allow us to finalize phase one, being the development. And then we also at the Project Control Board intend to make or to present a number of different options with regards to the continuation of phase two of the project, bearing in mind that some of the funds for phase two have been surrendered and that we have to then look at a different model. Chair, we have requested a new date for a Project Control Board as well as for the presentation regarding the deviations to specifications, and we are awaiting those dates. What we can, however, report, Chair, is that there are a number of the Hoefyster or the Badger vehicles in existence at the moment. There are in addition to engineering development models, in other words, the final models that were built to complete the development phase, there are also 4 pre-production models of the section variants available and functional at the moment, although, as already indicated, they do not fully meet all the specifications, or they meet them by the 60 specifications which we are seeking a waiver for. Those vehicles, about 7 of them, will be displayed and will take part in the Armed Forces Day Parade, and they will also partake in the live firing during the Armed Forces event. Chair, and then we are also planning subsequent to that to have a more detailed demonstration of the vehicle's performance at the moment, as well as its firing capabilities, either at Alkampon or at Potchefstroom. So that has to be decided still. Chair, that is as far as Project Bluefacer is concerned. With regards to the status of the ADART missile for the SA Air Force, at the moment, we have a contract on the NEL for the industrialization and subsequent production of the ADART missile for the SA Air Force. And as we have previously reported, this program has been significantly delayed, primarily due to the challenges being faced by the NEL. At the moment, the NEL is lacking some of the expertise and the capabilities in certain areas to complete the industrialization and also the subsequent production of the missiles. Chair, we have scrutinized the status of the development and the industrialization of the missile at this stage, and we have tested a model on how to continue, which would basically entail a cooperation model with industry, where some of these capabilities are now existing, and we tested that in yes, Chair?
No, I was going to advise you that you switch off your video. It's starting to interfere with your network. At least it's off now. I can see it's off now. You may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So we have tested this model of ours, our proposed model on how to continue with the missile development or industrialization and production. We have tested that against the affordability, funds availability of resources within the NEL, as well as the status of the development and industrialization. And the proposed model for continuation is regarded as being completely viable to complete the contract that we have on the NEL, to finalize the industrialization. The missile comprises several missile sections. The bulk of those missile sections have been fully industrialized approximately 3 years ago. There are 2 outstanding, and on those 2, it is mainly documentation that is outstanding to complete the industrialization. We have reconfirmed the industrialization status. In other words, we've reconfirmed the manufacturing baseline of the respective missile sections, and it has been confirmed. So those sections are virtually industrialized. So the missile is approximately 85% industrialized, Chair, and then we would have to continue with the manufacture or the production thereof. So this principle of work share with entities within the industry who have the requisite capability has been fully investigated. It has been discussed with the NEL. The NEL is in full agreement with this model going forward. And we've also engaged with the respective role players who could potentially become involved with the final production and assembly of the missiles. Chair, so we are at the moment awaiting a project control board to approve or authorize that we can continue with the proposed work share model. And once that approval is obtained from the project control board, we can then continue. So we've had several attempts at convening a project control board. It has been cancelled, or they have been cancelled. So we are waiting, and I believe it is imminent, and then we will be able to continue with the ADART. Chair, if I may continue then with the third report back item, and this is a high-level breakdown of the spending on maintenance and support contracts. And the question related to the 3.96 billion rand that OMSCO reported on as being operating funds that were being managed by OMSCO during the 21-22 financial year. Chair, so of the approximately 3.6 billion rand operating funds which OMSCO managed, 1.67 billion of that related specifically to maintenance and support. So the operating funds requirements which we received from the respective services and divisions are basically utilized for two main categories of work. The one being procurement, where we utilize these funds to procure spares and items such as clothing and so forth for the respective services and divisions, and then also for maintenance of the prime mission equipment. So this is a wide variety of equipment which is being maintained for each service division. So 1.7 billion approximately for maintenance and support. I've got a table there indicating per arm of service or division what the order values were for the 21-22 financial year, how much was spent. So in total, we spent 75, almost 76% of the maintenance and support or value of the maintenance and support contracts which we had on industry in that financial year. I must just mention, I did not break it down to a further level of detail, but the operating budget, which is also used for maintenance and support, comprises both STA as well as GDA money. GDA money which cannot roll, which has to be spent within that financial year in which it has been allocated, and the STA money which can roll into the next financial year if not fully utilized. So if we can go to the next slide. Just to further explain the expenditure that we had on the maintenance and support contracts, bar the contracts for the SA Air Force, where we mostly also have a fixed element in the contracts to provide for certain fixed predefined services which the entity that has been contracted has to provide on the different aircraft platforms. These contracts are mainly on-demand type of contracts. In other words, we have a contract on industry that provides for maintenance and support as and when the requirement arises. And in the cases of all the services and divisions, the amounts which we have indicated there are all contracts which were established with industry, awaiting the respective service or division to provide them with items to maintain or to repair. So, Chair, in the bulk of those cases where we have spent less than the contracted value, it is primarily as a result of the demand for those items being less than what was expected or planned. In some of these cases, however, it is also attributed to industry not having sufficient capacity or spares not being available in time. And we see the issue of spares not being available in time primarily in the Air Force environment, where a large number of these spares are long lead items which have to be procured from the OEMs in foreign country. And these take a long time to arrive. So that in some cases leads to an under expenditure. However, the lower expenditures that we see there on the table on the previous page was primarily within the SA Army and the SA Navy. SA Army almost 58% spent, and the Navy 48% spent. And these are primarily as a result of lower than expected demand. Chair, and I must just mention that these maintenance contracts do not include contracts for, or the Army ones do not include contracts for the SAML vehicles, as those are being maintained under Operation to SAML. And that is the mainstay of the Army at the moment. So the maintenance contracts that we have is the plethora of other items, other vehicles, bridges, equipment, and so forth, Chair. So the maintenance requirements in the previous financial year were less than what we expected. We did spend 75, almost 76% of the budget. In the case of the Air Force, 85% of the budget. And as I already mentioned, Chair, in the Air Force environment, the under expenditure is primarily as a result of non-performance by some of the contractors, but mainly as a result of long lead items. Some of these spares which we require take up to 1.5 years to 2 years to arrive, because we have to wait for the slot for those spares to be manufactured. that leads to an under expenditure. Then there was the status of the maintenance contracts for the aircraft types which are being maintained by Denel, being the Rafale, the Oryx, and the C-130s. So I've got a slide on each one of them, Chair. If I may start with the status for the Rafale fleet. Denel Aeronautics is the main contractor, and for the Rafale we have 2 contracts running at any given point in time, one being a contract for fixed costs for predetermined services which Denel has to provide with regards to those platforms, and then also an on-demand contract. Both of these contracts, the fixed costs as well as the on-demand contracts, have been extended up until the 31st of March of this year. And we are currently in the process of extending them further up to 30 September of 2023. And these further extensions will happen before the contracts expire at the end of March. The Airforce approved funds for the fixed cost contract for a further 6 months. They approved 51 million rand. So at the moment, we are short of approximately 155 million rand for that contract for the full period. So the contract is underfunded at the moment, and we had to contract specifically for work to be done up until such time as we run out of money. The on-demand contract was last funded in the 2019-20 financial year. So it has been running on trickle charge at the moment, Chair, on funds which have rolled over from the previous financial years. We're running out of that as well now. So we are at the moment, and we are having a shortage of approximately 565 million rand on the on-demand contract for the Rafale for the full contract period. We are currently in negotiation with Denel with regards to the further extension, but we still have the underfunding situation, which is becoming a serious concern, Chair. Just to give a high-level breakdown of the status of the fleet at the moment, we have 11 Rafale airframes at the moment, and 7 of them are undergoing service at Denel. And some of them are awaiting long lead items, spares, specifically on the engine. We have 23 engines, of which 13 are serviceable, and each aircraft uses 2. And then we have 10 of those engines which are currently being maintained. So if I may continue with the Oryx medium transport helicopter fleet, we currently have a maintenance contract, which is also valid until the 31st of March this year. We are at the moment presently negotiating for the extension of that contract until the 30th of September. The order value for the current financial year is 134 million rand, and of which we have paid 110 up until the end of January. Both the Rafale as well as the Oryx Bakela engines are at the moment in need or coming up for a 15-year major overhaul, which is a very costly overhaul. In the case of the Oryx, the cost of this 15-year major overhaul is approximately 692 million rand, which we do not have at the moment, which is funds which we're going to have to source. So we only have funds for major overhaul 4 of the engines. Chair, the status of the fleet of the Oryx helicopter, which is the workhorse of the South African Air Force, total fleet of 39 airframes, of which 7 are currently serviceable. 13 are at Denel for servicing, awaiting long lead spares or are in the process of being maintained. And then there are 19 helicopters at the squadrons, which are also awaiting spares to be sourced. And lastly, Chair, as far as the Air Force fleet is concerned, the C-130 Hercules, medium transport aircraft. The current contract for maintenance has been placed and runs until the 1st of January 2023. In other words, from the 1st of January 2023 up until the 31st of December 2025. We have 5 C-130s in the fleet, of which 1 is currently operational, 2 are in for maintenance and repair, and two of these aircraft are awaiting major overhauls, and those major overhauls will take approximately 6 months to complete. Once we can source a slot for the major overhaul with the OEM of the aircraft. Chair, then the last item from the acquisition side for report back is the status of the Navy's frigates and submarines. If I may start with the frigates. For the submarines, my apology. We have three submarines. The SAS Tati is currently in for DED, for docking and essential defect period. The completion date is March of this year, in other words, 2 months from now. And then the operation, taking into operation of the submarine will be dependent on the success of the post-maintenance trials, which will undergo after we have completed the maintenance. So the Queen Mujaji is currently undergoing preservation and refit planning activities, so it is up for refit. The procurement processes are currently underway, and we have received its requirement for the continuation of the procurement for the refit from the Navy only on the 6th of February, so it's a few days ago. So we are currently in the process of preparing the offer solicitation and then the subsequent contracting. And this will approximately take 140 days for us to get to a point where we will be contracting industry. And then we will have the timelines as soon as that contracting process has been completed. The Charlotte Makeke is currently in the refit process. We are providing project management services to the dockyard, to the Navy, and the dockyard is currently going through the procurement process to contract local suppliers for support services. They are busy with the evaluation of the bids and should be completed within 5 months. And then the frigates. Frigates Chair, the SAS Amatola is currently also in the docking and essential defect period. We suspended work temporarily to prioritize the completion of the SAS Mendi to get that boat seaworthy, which was required for the Armed Forces Day operations. The SAS Mendi is currently operational, so we are now continuing with the work of the SAS Amatola and to conclude the outstanding activities. So we are expecting within 3 months from now to have the vessel operational or seaworthy, although this is dependent on the repairs on the Spion Corp. The Spion Corp is currently in for ad hoc maintenance and repairs of the hull and structure. Completion of this work depending on the SA Navy providing customer furnished spares which the SA Navy has in stock, which they have to provide to the Armscor dockyard to complete the maintenance and repairs on the vessel. Dependent on the timeous receipt of these spares, we will then be completed within 1 month, Chair, and the Spion Corp will also be operational again. The SAS St. Luana is undergoing ad hoc maintenance and repairs on the mast and flight decks. These masts will be completed within 6 months, and this vessel is currently in a process of continuous refurbishment to keep the subsystem serviceable. This will be in the perpetual maintenance phase, Chair. And then, as I already mentioned, SAS Mendi currently fully operational. Chair, that concludes the first part of our presentation. Continue with the outstanding item.
Thank you, Chair. We'll then deal with the last part of our presentation, which is the report on the revenue from commercial activities and R&D. Will take us through that particular presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Can you do it within 2 minutes, please?
Yes, I will be very brief. Thank you, Chair, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Dr. Shumana from R&D. I've got a short presentation. Basically, I will go straight to slide 3 of the presentation, where I'm highlighting, the DRDB revenue for the various facilities. But importantly there, we just have to note that, over the years, we've been getting about, 100 million. But then in 2021-22, we did not receive any DRDB funding, due to defense budget cuts. But in 2022, we've managed, to get back to the pre-COVID levels. In fact, we have exceeded them to about 133 million. Next slide, sir. This slide is actually breaking down, commercial revenue and as well the DoD revenue. Commercial revenue,
Chairperson, I don't see any presentations. I don't know if it's just on my side.
I think it is on your side, Mr. Murray, because I can see it. Let me just check with the other colleagues. Colleagues, can you see it?
Yeah, we are on the question slide. That's what I can see from my side, Chair.
Yeah, the same with me. Is the question slide of the previous presentation.
Oh, is this of the previous presentation? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks, colleagues. Colleagues, can you attend to that, Amsco? We don't see the fresh presentation, the presentation we are talking to now. They've disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, are you refreshing your presentation?
Yes, we are trying to refresh the presentation. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Chair. I think, can you see it now, the presentation?
It's not yet on, but it's loading. Can you wait just seconds? Yeah, no, it's loaded now. You can go through.
Okay, I think I'll just get back to slide 3. I said my presentation is mainly a few slides. I will focus mainly on slide 3 and slide 4. Slide 3, we have DRDB funding over the years. I think what we're trying to highlight there, we did not receive funding, DRDB funding for 2021-22. But in 2022, we managed to actually get back to pre-COVID levels with the amount of about 133 million rands compared to the previous years of about 100 million rands. Next slide, please. In this slide, we've sort of separated now, the commercial revenue, over the years. You'll see, it has been stable 2018, 2019, but then in 2021, which is the focus of the presentation, we had actually a drop, in the commercial, revenue. That's mainly basically to COVID-19 and, and the associated lockdowns. I mean, you see that as well, in 2020, 2021. Of course, this affected mainly, other divisions like Gerotech, that actually deals with the testing of, in the automotive sector, and as well Alcanpan, which actually does, ballistic testing because of the international clients that we actually do business with. Of course, there you actually saw quite a drastic, decline in the commercial revenue. I put on as well, the other slide, which actually shows, the total revenue from the DoD, meaning that from the MOAs and, the other military work. You'll see as well in 2021, you had a decline there. That's mainly still, with the DRDB funding that we didn't get for some of the divisions. That's really the long and short of it, Chair. I think I will end it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Calvin, please, I'm giving you 2 minutes to run through your presentation. Just focus on the salient points, please.
Now it's good afternoon, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Minister, and Acting SecDef. No, I'll be super fast. I'm trying to share, but I'm not sure if it's coming up. Yeah, is it coming up? I hope you can see it, Chairperson and members. Can you see my slide now?
Yes, it's on now.
Okay, so what I've done, Chairperson and honorable members, is to exactly take the communication. You can see it's still in PDF, so that we highlight and deal once and for all with the 5 BRRR recommendations that we are coming. I just want to highlight 2 or 3 of them. The first one is that all systems going for Operation Clean Audit still, Chairperson. The only orange flag is that we've heard that the Auditor General of South Africa's audit manager is leaving us, so we will have to re-educate the new person who's coming on board. The Regional Works Arrangement and the other DoD support staff are still with us. They've worked over the festive season. They dealt with most of the issues. The only issue that came up is the perennial issue of the homeless on the corner of Castle and Downing Street, which there's also developments, but maybe at our next engagement, I will update you on that one. We have the 3 interns that we had in October. I reported that all 3 of them were made permanent. The one in the finance department, the one to deal with administration, because that was an issue of the AG that we don't keep, the record keeping matter. And then the last one I've put in my office as a research intern. All 3 of them are settled and all 3 of them are Black females. Then you've also asked us, and I've also answered that previously, that we have lost our 3 managers. The events manager was lost due after disciplinary hearing, so dismissed. The marketing manager left for overseas. He's in Austria for the past 3 years. And the Heritage and Culture manager is running an art center in Muizenberg, Chairperson. I think you are all aware that General Mbuli retired the end of the year. So there's a little bit of a transition for us. We still need to brief the Deputy Minister and Minister properly around that. And but General Ndlovu, the new chief look, has been updated and briefed around the major issues in terms of the castle. So I hope that this update will, for the record, will deal with the 5 issues that's been brought up by your very competent parliamentary research team, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Colleagues, may I now invite comments on these 3 reports. May I at this stage say that I don't think we'll be able to get to the last item, that is the briefing on Umzimvubu. The team from Umzimvubu who were here to present on Umzimvubu to exit the platform as and when you feel so, because I don't think we'll get to your item. Mr. Murray?
Thank you, Chair. Just before I put my questions, then just on Umzimvubu, I accept that we are running out of time. However, there's just one question that they must just give us an indication. When will they implement the Board of Inquiry recommendations of the payments and the enrollments? If we can just have an indication of that, then we can obviously, put the others, because I think this was actually a very, very long-awaited feedback, and we haven't received a copy of the Board of Inquiry as well.
Okay.
Back to Arms Corps. If I can just ask Arms Corps.
Okay, Mr. Mare, let me say I agree with you. If I would allow them just to do a 3 minutes presentation on when they are likely to get these recommendations implemented. If
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thanks. May go
Thank
ahead.
you. Much appreciated. Just to go back to the Arms Corps presentation. Again, it's a very dissatisfying presentation to see, the state of our prime mission equipment, and there is so much time lagging that I get the impression that there are people in Arms Corps and in the department who's not looking for, and Denel, who's looking for a faster way of getting things done. I mean, we sit in an enormous predicament, and it seems like we are talking and talking and talking, and nothing gets resolved. We sit with for instance, I just want to use the example on the Rayfall. They've said there's 4 serviceable. We know from our visit to Bloemspruit, 3 is in the DRC and 1 is at Bloemspruit. 4 is already for 4 years at the NEL, and I would have expected feedback from on that 4 who's already for such a long time.
There's a colleague. Please, can you switch off your mic? Switch off your mic.
Yes, Mr. Lokoro, Chair, Mr. Lokoro, I think.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Switch off your microphone. Thanks. Thank you very much. You may go ahead,
Thank you.
Mr. Mare.
Thank you. So in other words, we have it seems like there's no urgency to resolve that issues. If I look at the Oryx, 7 is serviceable. That numbers don't count up for me. We know that we have got 5 in the DRC, and we now have got 2 in Mozambique. That's 7. It's impossible that there's no Oryx in the whole of South Africa. I don't believe that. I think there are in Cape Town, and there are, there's one always at standby for the president. So that 7 doesn't add up for me. So we need some more explanations on that quantity, because we can't work with incorrect figures or outdated figures. On the C-130, I mean, we have got 1 operational. At one stage, we had now about 2 or 3 in terms of the numbers, that 406, 409 numbers. 409 was flying. Now they say that we have got 1 operational. So what happened to the others that were flying? Are they now suddenly also out of service? And if in that case, what happened with the possible procurement of C-130s? They must also report to us, and that linked to a previous question of mine, are they handling the contracts for charters at the moment? Because we know that the Kazakhstan aircraft are being used to fly to the DRC into Mozambique for logistical support. What, can they report on that? The comprehensiveness of that, and to give us the information on numbers, how often we use that, what is the cost, and where does that cost come from which cost items? Also, I want to ask about the links. If Mendi is fully operational, and obviously there's a difference between operational and fully serviceable. So if Arms Corps can clarify fully serviceable or operational, because operational means on the water, but serviceable means it can actually be deployed for active service and defend our country. They haven't responded in terms of the links. That there was a problem with the links maintenance contracts. And we know that the frigate, the Mendi, on the ocean without the links means that there's no capability to go over the horizon and to have that capability. It means that, again, the Mendi is very, very limited. So if they can please respond in terms of that. And then, what is the position with Spionkop? Spionkop was not that long time ago, was actually in Mozambique, and I know it was struggling down back to Simonstown. But is it really in such a long-term challenge and problem that we have? On the grippins, you will recall, Chair, that last year Armscor said us all the contracts are in place. You know, the maintenance guys are in Hoedspruit. You know, the grippins will be flying. And then it was reported only 2 of the 26 has been flying and has been made serviceable. We know that at that stage there was still a problem and the challenge with the Pilatus and some of the other aircraft in terms of training. We have heard it ourselves in Bloemspruit. The problem there is with the 4 Rooivalk at Denel. Now it's reported that there are even more platforms at Denel than what was expected. So what is happening at I mean, it's 30 to have 13 of the 39 Oryx at Denel, and to have quite a number, at least 4 of the Rooivalk of the 11 at Denel. That is significant. And if Denel is not got the capability anymore to do that, we need to know that. Because how can 4 Rooivalk be there for 4 years, and of the 39, only 7 is serviceable? Here we have got a problem, and it seems like we do not have the correct picture, and that doesn't help us at all. So you know, Chair, if Armscor can give us the information. Oh, and in terms of the RFI, Armscor should be in a position then, also in terms of what was previously reported, to report to us on the RFI. What is the situation there, and you know, why don't they not report on that? Thank you, Chair. I've got many questions, but I will leave you to that because of time constraints. Okay.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Murray. Colleagues, any other question on all 3? Okay, so straightforward. I now invite, so it means that there are no questions on the first and the third report. The questions are largely on the second report, Armscor's report. Armscor?
Chair will respond on the questions that have been raised. Just for clarity, Chair, the RFI that Honorable Murray is talking about, what does it relate to?
Mr. Murray, quickly.
Must I tell Armscor what RFIs they've issued? That was on vehicles replacing the Mamba.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm sure you know about that.
Yes.
I'm sure you know about that.
Yes, acknowledge that. Okay, Mr. Tefo.
Thank you, Chair. I'll deal with the first one, the handling of the charters. Chair, I can mention to the committee that we don't handle any charters. So there's no handling of charters by Armscor. On the issue of the SA-Mendi, Chair, I can confirm that the SA-Mendi is serviceable. On the issue of the numbers of both the Oryx, the C-130, I'll just ask my colleague, Mr. Green, just to give a status update on those. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman, honorable members. The status for the C-130 at the moment is there's one serviceable because the lack of funding. And I think it's common knowledge that if they have no, then now it's going to be inordinately more complex to keep those platforms serviceable in the air. The 2 of them have been flown where they are in need of major overhauls, so they're on the ground. There's 1 bay, repair bay, at 28 Squadron. So, and that is for short-term maintenance so that we can get the aircraft in the air as soon as possible. Over the years, because of the lack of funding, there has been the fixed cost paid because because if you don't have Denel, you and having to have a Denel comes with a cost. So those costs were paid, but then there was no cost, there was no money left to buy the critical spares. So we're in a bit of a quagmire here to try and get these platforms serviceable with the challenge of not having sufficient funding. And Denel is really struggling to keep going. There are service bays at Denel where the long-term service can be done on these platforms, but then that needs to be funded. So, and if you don't have C-130, no, there's no operational airlift. That is the position we are in.
The Oryx.
As far as the Oryx is concerned, sir, we would like to respond as follows. If, once again, no Denel, no Oryx, there is spares that needed to be acquired. Now, the lack of long-term funding, if we start dumping funding on this capability now, a visible impact will only be seen within 2 to 3 years, because this thing is like a ship. We stop funding it and it keeps going until we get to the point where if you now dump funding on it, you won't see the visible impact immediately. It's going to take time because we have to ramp up and get Denel's capability properly capacitated and fit for purpose. And then buy the long lead spares that we haven't done for a very long time. So with this anemic funding, it's become, and we're now at the point of having two contrasting objectives that are at variance with each other. In fact, they're conflicting. We want to have, it's very desirable to have all platforms serviceable without money. I think that is the two irreconcilables we are at. We try our very best. And I think Denel also tries, but I think there's limits to what at this level we can do, sir. That's why we are grateful that the leadership is here to at least hear the plea that we have.
Right. No, it looks as though we need a meeting that will be dedicated to the issues of acquisition and maintenance of our prime mission equipment. Lastly, maintenance, because it's where we are seriously falling short. We are seriously challenged as a department. What was presented this morning, I mean, it's shocking that of the assets, the platforms we've got, only very few are serviceable, and largely because there's insufficient funding for them. 2, there are no spares available. 3, because of challenges in Denel, and so on and so forth. That's what we're told. That's on one hand. On the other hand, you get a report that says there's underfunding. Sorry, the budget allocated to Air Force.
Cost of employee. Oh, okay.
To the Air Force, the program that provides for the Air Force is underspent, and the program that provides for the Navy is also maritime defense is also underspent. So there's this problem, underfunding being alleged as the reason why some contracts could not be moved forward, but there's shortage here. I mean, there's money not spent on the other side. So I think there is an issue of alignment of plans that we need to get a handle on. What is in fact a problem?
You're muted, Chair. You're muted.
Yes, thanks. We'll have to get down to those issues. Just one meeting, just to thresh these matters out. I don't think we'll do justice today. Velem, you want to say something?
Chair, just for clarity on this topic that you raised now, just a reminder that on the 2nd of March, the Joint Standing Committee of Defence will have a briefing by Arms Corps and the SANDF on initiatives to improve the availability of spares for prime mission equipment. So that will link to this topic.
Okay. That is the appointment with you, Daniel, and the department. I mean, Arms Corps and the department.
Chairperson, I would also suggest that we at one stage consider a visit to Denel, where they are maintaining our prime mission equipment aircraft, so that we can see for ourselves what is going on. There's just too many of our aircraft that is apparently standing at Denel. It doesn't make sense.
I agree. Willem, please just look at arranging for that visit to Denel to look at what they are doing there. Arms Corps, just 1 minute, Arms Corps.
Chair, the situation, it appears true that the budget is underspent, but it doesn't give a perspective on the story. The real story is that many of the parts that we have to acquire have a lead time up to 36 months. So we order now, we have the money gets committed, but it can't be spent because we get delivery within 36 months. It's unfortunately what it is. We are now in the situation where you can dump money. That's what I said. We can dump money at this problem now, but the impact will only be visible in 2 to 3 years' time. It's very unfortunate, but that is where we got ourselves into.
Okay. No, thank you very much. The point is made. I'm sure you're listening, DM. We can't take beyond this. Take this beyond this for now.
Chairperson, can I just request those questions that Arms Corps has not responded to of mine? If they cannot respond, for instance, the links and all that, can they please in writing?
Please put them down. Please put them down. Willem will then send them across.
Thank you.
Colleagues, I think we can't take the matter beyond this. It's 28 minutes past. I'm really sorry to the to those who came to do the presentation on Umzimvubu. I can't take it now. We have to leave the meeting, all of us. Colleagues, let me just one word, DM, just 1 minute, DM, if you want to do a concluding remark.
Chair, you've said that damage. Tell us when will they implement? When will they implement the board requirement?
We'll reschedule that for next week, Mr. Mare. DM?
No, Honorable Chair and members, thank you very much for the engagement this morning. One word from my side is that the time we need to further get clarity on a number of other areas that were not sufficiently explored. In relation to that, Chair, I was going to say the program of the committee in March actually will allow, with respect to some of these issues, the opportunity for us to come back to them. For instance, the point that you raised about the employee-initiated severance package alongside the MAM, that matter is on the agenda on the 1st of March. We'll be able to come back to it again. The department must bring sufficient information to the committee around it. Similarly, the issue about St. George's, on the 29th of March, we are going to be dealing with the investigations into irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. It will be on the program of the committee. We can eye those dates in order to conclude some of the areas that were touched upon today. That's what I wanted to raise, Chair. But just to say that in closing, from my side, the Acting Secretary for Defense, fortunately, is the longest serving possibly among us official in the Department of Defense. She's got more than close to 1.5 decades. She understands the systems very well, and I hope that she is going to assist in making us have a good grasp of the areas that concerns the Oversight Committee. With that said, Chair, I also note that the quarterly reports that we have tabled here, according to the decision taken by the committee before, is that they must be accompanied by the audit action plan. Every quarterly report that is tabled must also have attached to it what steps were being taken alongside the implementation of the plan of the APPs in relation to the audit action plan that the department has. And we shall oblige, Chair, do our best to get the accountability of the department to be dealt with in that fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Let me thank you. I thank you, DM. I think we can close on that note and say to officials who came to do the presentation, AMSCO, CCP, and the department, SecDef, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Thank you, comrade. Colleagues, the meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair, and thank